Just last night, I was lost in the jungle with Pitfall Harry, surrounded by giant scorpions and man-eating crocodiles.
If you haven't met Pitfall Harry, you're missing the year's most incredible video game adventure. Pitfall, designed by David Crane for Activision.
Yes, what you just watched is a 13-year-old Jack Black promoting the newest groundbreaking video game from over 40 years ago. You may vaguely recognize the game, and I know you've heard of some of the games it has inspired, like the Super Mario Bros. And Temple Run, but how much do you really know about just how impactful this game was? My name is Benji Cutler, and today we're taking an adventure into the world of Pitfall on the Atari 2600. Published in 1982 by Activision and programmed by game designer David Crane, Pitfall follows Pitfall Harry, a fortune hunter and explorer, as he moves through the jungle searching for treasure and avoiding obstacles like barrels, alligators, pits, scorpions, and snakes. The goal of the game is to stay alive and collect as many points as possible from money bags, diamonds, and other treasures. Yet, with just how long the game is, with 255 different screens, the true focus while you are playing is to simply hold on to your 3 lives as long as possible by not falling into any water or holes, not getting bit by a snake, or not catching flame from a campfire. Each screen stands on its own, but by getting Pitfall Harry to the far left or far right of the screen, he will move to the next scene and must face a new obstacle to overcome. Your character can jump up, climb down ladders, and move left and right through each screen. What truly makes the game stand out is just how complex it was for its time. Even beyond Pitfall Harry running through the jungle, many other features move in real time, including swinging vines, rolling barrels, chomping alligators, and lakes and black pits that open and close. When it released, Pitfall quickly became an Atari 2600 staple that shocked players with just how much variety was put into such a small console. Arcade Express, the bi-weekly Electronic Games newsletter, called the game the best adventure game yet produced for the VCS, saying that the play action is extremely varied, suggesting that Pitfall will wear well through repeated gaming sessions. The animation is good, and the graphics are fully up to the usual high standard Activision maintains. I had the privilege of directly interviewing the creator of Pitfall, David Crane, and he told me that his proudest accomplishment is when Pitfall made G4's list of the top 100 video games of all time in 2012. Crane said, Pitfall was still in the list after 30 years and competing with hundreds of thousands of games developed in the decades that followed it, proving just how impactful and timeless the game truly was. Crane also explained to me how he was able to build so much variety and complexity into a game on such an early console in the initial stages of the video game era. Crane and his team only had 4,000 bytes of ROM, or memory, to work with. In context, Crane added that when he began programming video games for the iPhone, he found that just the icon on the iPhone home screen for a game took more than 8 times the amount of memory he had for the entirety of Pitfall. To maximize the very little code he had to create game features, backgrounds, and other aspects of the gameplay, Crane created a fixed pattern of 255 side-by-side screens, where he used very few bits to generate path type, tree pattern, pit type, vine or no vine, treasure or no treasure, etc. In other words, as you can see in the footage, each obstacle is in the same exact place every time you see them, and so all Crane had to do was practically copy and paste the obstacles into different stages rather than using a whole new set of code to create a different feature on each screen. This algorithm was known as an LFSR, or Linear Feedback Shift Register, and so this fixed sequence of code used fewer than 30 bytes of ROM rather than over 4,000. Crane also used the algorithm to cleverly generate the obstacles at gradually increasing difficulty, easing the players into the game and allowing them to learn little by little the mechanics of the game. Crane commented, "It wouldn't do for the player to start with an alligator screen to his left and right. He would die before he learned how to run, jump, or climb." When he first saw the incredible success of the game, Crane stated that he found that the game was heralded as cutting edge graphically, and game players were intrigued by wanting to see what was on the next screen. The game remained in the Billboard #1 spot for video games in its first 64 consecutive weeks of being released. In fact, he was extremely surprised when he began seeing players play the game from right to left instead of from left to right, which was how the game was designed to be played. Crane admits that playing Pitfall right to left was much more player friendly, especially since going right to left you were placed past the obstacle that killed you, rather than actually having to pass the obstacle you just tried to pass. In the end, Crane told me that despite all his recognitions and the insane fact that he created what is considered to be the first ever platform game before Mario ever arrived, The end goal of Pitfall in all of his games is always to make a fun experience and figure out a fun way to interact with characters on the screen. Regardless of what console he was programming for or what technology he had access to, every game was just as difficult to make from a creative standpoint because he always had to think of new ways to keep players engaged. This point further proves just how much of an accomplishment Pitfall was for its exciting gameplay and its endless technological limitations. Of course, platformer games have come a long way since Pitfall first released in 1982, yet still, something about the simple and engaging adventures makes the game still hold up extremely well over 40 years later. The most impressive part is just how difficult the game is, giving you only 3 lives to survive through 255 screens, making you want to keep playing and explore the endless combinations of obstacles the game has in store. For the early stages of video games, Pitfall remains one of the most timeless, fun, and exciting games to this day.